it costs to be the boss. Let's do this.
Free is expensive, and the way you use the word principle, we have seen principles, L-E, contaminated by principle, P-A-L, because the newsroom is now being run by billionaires who don't care about the need for separation between the editorial board and the sales team. And all of that stuff has been contaminated. And all of this stuff that we're presently doing is not merely expensive. When you talk about the cost of journalism, journalism is no longer a good business. The way
break it down, big dog. Now let's talk about it. Dan over here using Wileyisms, principle A-L versus principle L-E. Woo! Two different animals in the jungle together now. No. They in the same cage together now, and that's what happened. The lines that used to have these strict, explicit borders of, we're going to protect the integrity of what we're covering and how we're covering it. And you guys just sell this somehow, some way. And that used to be an opportunity for them to go out there and say, we have integrity in business, but we also have commerce in business. Those two didn't have to go together. But then somehow, some way, whether it was obviously more beneficial to the bottom line, but also the borders weren't protected. Next thing you know, the way you cover it has to keep the money in mind. That means basically, you know what sells. Watch your local news. Negativity, murder, fire, murder, robbery, murder, weather, murder, cat out the tree, murder, sports. That's how it went. And we used to be in a different space. That's why he's talking about the principle, A-L, the money, got into it with the principle, L-E, just how we supposed to do this, the integrity, the right way, whatever you want to call it. So now that they are blurred, and I have firsthand experience with this as well, Dan obviously does. Now you see it, and you kind of hold on to the old way. You're like, yo, it used to work. What happened? Well, we know what happened. Let them tell you.
That we're presently doing it allows us to make it a good business because of all of the things that are in play that allow us to have the number of employees that we have, and we have DraftKings supporting something on the front end because we're using their sales staff to sell what it is that we do and allow us to be fundamentally independent. And there'll be any number of people who say, get off your high horse here. You work for a gambling company. All of the money that anyone takes is polluted, but
now, that's interesting because this still would just happen right here. One, they're able to protect something that is dated, which is journalism, right? Like even the journalists became pundits. All the journalists became analysts. All the journalists became hosts and personalities. All the journalists now, they're the most reckless. They're like, yo, we used to hold it down with this honest foundation of integrity. Now, man, I'll say whatever. Right? We know who they are. Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. They have a journalist background, but who cares? Right? And they the top dogs when they were, especially Stephen A. now, Skip before, but still Skip at it. Top dogs. Right? Just bite anything now. Here's the thing. Dan is saying this, that he is partnered with DraftKings. Now, y'all can get into I ain't taking gambling money. I don't get into that. That's not my issue. I don't have a problem with gambling, me personally. I know a lot of people do have a problem with it. But at the same time, I would take an alcohol sponsor. I don't have a problem with alcohol. I know a lot of people do. So you get into some dicey conversations. We can have them on a different topic. But Dan is in bed with a gambling company, probably the biggest one, right? And they take care of the fact that they now have the resources. They take care of the economics. They say, look, he signed 2 different deals. One of them was reported for $50 million. Who knows what the second one was? So in success, they're promoting what you have. They're funding what you are having and what you're doing. And then you're allowed to have the freedom to do it. That's a whole different animal. Okay? But the crazy part about it is he's saying it to Pablo, who Pablo didn't want to be in bed with the gambling company, so he went to the Athletic, but he's still in partnership with Dan Le Batard. Did y'all catch all that? He's talking about gambling. Then he said, look, I know y'all going to say, oh, look at this hypocrite, or get off your high horse. And he's talking to somebody who literally did that. It was like, nah, I'm good. Even though we boys and even though we're going to work together, I'm not going to work under the umbrella explicitly of the gambling company. These are real friends right here. That's gangster.
DraftKings allows us to be 100% independent, not 99% independent. We have no partnerships that compromise us.
Y'all hear that? And I know a lot of y'all don't believe that. Yeah, sure. No, I know it for fact. I know it with me as well. They just want to be out there. They want the brand awareness. They want the brand association for whoever they're partnering with, and they just want to get out there. It's the new media. It's the new advertising. Like, just give me back the data that shows that people are seeing this. Let's get some click-through rate. Let's get some people onto the site. Let's give them some promo codes. Let's just get them in front of your product. That's it. And it's really that simple. People be like, oh, no, what they asked you to do? What happened last night at midnight? No, it's not that deep, not that dark.
Is at the front of everything it is that I have chosen here and has been chosen for me because, as I said, without taking too much credit for being a visionary, ESPN forced me into this position. I would have never done it if they hadn't pushed us out the door. It's not anything that I was thinking of there.
Now, you know what's crazy about this? He a nut, Cody. You know what's crazy about this? Like, all the success stories in independent media seem to be coming from that conversation, right? Like, if you think about it, the first one is Pat McAfee, who couldn't get the opportunity he wanted, couldn't get on ESPN. I remember that like yesterday, being there, and they're like, oh, he can't get in. I was like, why he can't get in? Oh, he's a punter. I was like, remember how they used to typecast you? I was a football player. It took a year or two before they even asked me a basketball question, asked me a track and field question. I was like, what are you doing? Football's not even my favorite sport. What are y'all talking about? So you get typecast, and ESPN had you typecast. Obviously, those borders are looser now, but they used to say the journalists could talk about anything. You former athletes could talk about your former sport. And that's crazy because guys played multiple sports, played all sports better than your ass who's making this decision. So anyway, you fast forward to Dan is saying, ESPN pushed me out. Pat McAfee couldn't even get in. He was forced to go independent. Thank God. Look at the fortune that he's accumulated because you said no. One door closes, another one opens. Then you got to go even, we talk about Dan Batard, what happened with him. Let's talk about Shannon Sharp and ESPN, and he already had it rolling, but Fox, and he had that deal with Fox and doing Club Shay Shay, but then Nightcap, right? Nightcap comes after the Fox situation, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm 99% sure. I'm not certain. But the point is, right around there, and look how his independent fortunes have gone. Great, right? It's like, I get it. And I'm in a different boat because I actually could have went back, and I was like, I just don't like this low ball. Like, Dan was fired. I know he was suspended, probably fired too. And Shannon obviously fired. But me, I was kind of like, they gave me a little more. I was like, this is the worst offer I ever had. Which in the business, they say they give you such a bad offer that they fired you, right? So I'm probably in the same boat as them. Fascinating, blah, blah, blah. Dan Batard sits here now with a growing empire because in success with those deals, he's created his most successful product. And Pablo Torre finds out. Outside of the Dan Batard show, now they got something to show even greater proof of concept of what he's trying to do. And knowing Dan, as I know Dan's the homie, Dan wants everybody to come on in and let's talk this out. Now, when we talk this out, I want y'all to understand that we're going to have to do this the right way. But what separates Dan is he thinks the right way is a certain way. Right? Because of his history, because of all that he's been through. Like, you can see that his political leanings, you can see that his personality, you can see that his ideology does come out. Now, it differs than mine. Can't lie to you. You know me. I'm an old stubborn kind of guy. I'm like, you mess up, accountability first, right? Not empathy first. Like, but that's okay because we all are slices in that pie that come together. But it's working for him. The greater point is he faced resistance, which is crazy because ESPN is left-leaning. Obviously, Dan is left-leaning, and you thought they would just roll on. And actually, it went too far left. It was just like, what? And they had their clashes to the point where he had to do his own thing, even though you would see and say his ideologies was a perfect framework with theirs. You would think they would do that to someone like me, but they didn't. So that's what's interesting about this. They force you out, and then it forces you to become a whole different version of yourself, a greater version, right? Because necessity is the mother of invention. So he's invented something great. Respect to what he's doing and respect to how it keeps going and growing. Much love. So beat it up in the comments. Did you learn anything? And isn't it kind of crazy, like how this new media is really coming out of, get your old butt off my lawn kind of media. It's wild. Beat it up in the comments. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, that wasn't enough? Y'all want some more? Well, check out the link in my bio. Hydration Situation Live. Blah, blah, blah. It's been a decade plus that I knew that this day was going to come.
Oh, this is not hyperbole here.
Because I believe the verse.
Time to hydrate. Hydration situation. So